Hello students, welcome to my channel Parina Jain Tutorials. So here I am back with another video, that is life process circulation. We were doing the class 10 science chapter 6 life processes. So here I am with a part 4, that is circulation. So let's start. So first of all, let's understand that what all things we need to circulate in our body, what all things need to be transported. So first of all, the food is to be transported in the body, because the food get digested in the small intestine. So from the small intestine, that glucose, amino acids, that fatty acids should be reached to each and every body parts. Then water is need to be circulated, then oxygen, because oxygen is the main ingredient which convert food into energy. So that oxygen should also be circulated in the body to each and every cell, so that every cells can produce energy. Then apart from food and oxygen, the waste material should also be transported in our body, because our cells also produce some waste material. So that waste material should be eliminated from the body. So to excrete out that waste need to be removed, to be collected at one part and can be removed. Then so these are the things which need to be circulated in our body. Apart from this, some hormones are also there which need to be circulated. So all these things, how these things are transported in our body. So we have a special mechanism that is called circulatory system. Our circulatory system consists of heart, blood and blood vessels. All these three components together makes up a circulatory system. So let's take them one by one. First of all, understand by blood. Blood is a connective tissue. How we can say it is a connective tissue? We have already learned it in our previous class, but still, what is a connective tissue? The tissue which connects all the tissues together. So blood is a connective tissue because it connects all the tissues. How? By exchanging the material between from one tissue to another tissue. Like the oxygen is passed over from one tissue to the another tissue, or the food is being transported from one tissue to the other tissue. So this is how it connects all the tissues. That is why it is a connective tissue. Our blood is having a solid component and a liquid component. The liquid component is known as a plasma. Here we can see the components, like plasma is the maximum, which is having 55%, which makes up a 55% of our blood. Then, but our blood appears to be red. Plasma is yellowish in color, but our blood appears to be red. So why it appears to be red? Because it contains red blood cells. Okay, red blood cells is 45%. What is there in the red blood cells which makes the blood to be red? So it has a hemoglobin. Here we can see Hb. Hb means hemoglobin. Hemoglobin basically a red pigment which impart a red color to the blood. What is the function of hemoglobin? Hemoglobin carries respiratory it is also known as a respiratory pigment, we have done in our previous video. So it carries these oxygen and carbon dioxide gas. That is why it is known to be a respiratory pigment also. Now we were doing the plasma. Plasma is a yellowish liquid. It is a liquid part of our blood. What is the function of plasma? Plasma constitutes 90% water, 10% organic substances. Organic substances means it contains plasma, it contains proteins like all these proteins, globulin, albumin, these all proteins it has. Now, what the plasma carries? It carries carbon dioxide, it carries food, it carries waste, it carries hormones. All these things are carried. Other than the oxygen, all the other things are carried by the plasma. Now in the solid part, the first part is red blood cells, RBCs. The other part is white blood cells. It is colorless in nature and they are not having a fixed shape. It is an irregular shape. Red blood cells are, you could see here, these are a disc shape. But white blood cells, this is a white blood cell. So white blood cells are not having any particular shape. They are different shapes. Then white blood cells, what is the function of these white blood cells? White blood cells basically builds up a defense system in our body. So it provides a defense system. They fight against the diseases. Whatever germs, bacteria, viruses enter in our body, they produce antibodies in the blood, and these antibodies basically engulf it, or these antibodies fight against those germs and bacteria. The third component which is present in our blood is blood platelets. So here you could see some of the, like these material, these are platelets. So what does these platelets do? These platelets basically coagulate our blood. These blood do coagulation. So, but coagulation is not done at all the stages. It is done at a particular time whenever the blood starts bleeding from any wound, from any cut. Then it coagulates the blood at that particular site. And by that coagulation, it makes a clot. So we see that whenever we have a wound or a cut in our body, initially the blood bleeds from that part. But slowly it stops, and after that we also see some stitches over that cut. So that stitches is that the blood which has been clotted there. So this clotting actually stitch that part and makes the blood to stop bleed. So it helps in stop bleeding the blood. Then after blood, the other thing that we have in our circulatory system is blood vessels. So majorly we have two types of blood vessels, that is arteries and veins. Now how the arteries and veins looks like, so here you could see arteries are thick walled. So this is a proper wall of the artery. So you could see the thickness of the artery. But here the veins are only having this much of thickness. So we can say the veins are thin walled, but arteries are thick walled. Why the arteries are thick walled? Because in the arteries, the blood flows with high pressure. In arteries, the blood flows with high pressure. The pressure is high. But in veins, the pressure is low. Why this is so? Because arteries takes the blood away from the heart. Our heart is the pumping organ. It pumps the blood. So when heart pumps the blood, that blood is taken by the arteries. That is why the arteries is having a high blood pressure, because whenever the heart is contracting, all that pressure is being experienced by the arteries. So that is why the blood in the arteries flows with high pressure. And this is the reason that arteries are having thick walled, and they are also deeply placed in our skin. We are not able to see the arteries in our skin, but we can see the veins. Sometimes we can see the blue veins in our skin, because the veins are superficially placed. They are not deeply seated. So veins are thin walled, they are superficially placed, and they carries the blood to the heart, from other organs to the heart. Then arteries are also having arteries do not have valves, but veins are having valves. You could see here this. You could see here, this is a kind of these are what? These are valves. What these valves do? We know that blood flows with low pressure in the veins. So with low pressure, the blood can fall back. To prevent this, the falling back of blood, we have valves in our veins. But because the blood flows with high pressure in the arteries, that is why there is no chances of falling back of blood. That is why in arteries we do not have any kind of valves. So these are the major differences between the arteries and veins. The another difference which we could say, that arteries carries oxygenated blood. Why it carries oxygenated blood? Because we have learned that arteries takes the blood away from the heart. So this is the heart and these are the arteries. So these arteries takes the blood away from the heart. Now heart receives the oxygenated blood, and that oxygenated blood is carried by the arteries to all the different organs of the body. That is why it carries oxygenated blood. And what is the function of veins? It brings the blood back to the heart. So veins are bringing blood from other body organs, and other body organs are producing carbon dioxide. So that carbon dioxide rich blood is taken back by the veins. So it carries deoxygenated blood. It carries deoxygenated blood to the heart. Here it is also written pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein. So what is pulmonary artery and pulmonary veins? Pulmonary word means which is associated with lungs. So the arteries which is associated with lungs are called pulmonary artery, and pulmonary veins which is associated with lungs, that means the veins which brings the blood from the lungs. So what is the function of our pulmonary artery? It carries the blood from heart to the lungs. And what is the function of pulmonary vein? It carries blood from lungs to the heart. Now when the heart is going to the when the blood is going to the heart, so it is going there for getting oxygenated. So pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. It carries deoxygenated blood. It takes the blood to the heart. It takes the blood to the lungs, and in the lungs we are having alveoli. Through the alveoli it get oxygenated, and from there the pulmonary vein brings the blood to the heart. So from the pulmonary vein, from the lungs, the pulmonary veins when bring the blood, so they bring the oxygenated blood. So this is how the pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood and pulmonary arteries carry deoxygenated blood, which is in contrast to the function of arteries and veins. The main artery, which is also known as aorta, its function is to carry oxygenated blood, but pulmonary arteries function is to carry deoxygenated blood. Then main veins, which is also known as vena cava, its function is to carry deoxygenated blood, but pulmonary veins function is to carry oxygenated blood. So this function is only in contrast to them. Otherwise all the functions are same. Now we are also having a third type of blood vessels, that is known as capillaries. What is capillaries? So capillaries basically they make a connection between arteries and veins. They are in between the arteries and veins, and they forms a network around our organ tissues. So they are very thin, and their walls are also very thin. Because their walls are thin, so they are permeable in nature. Because they are permeable in nature, so through the arteries the material can be exchanged. So here we could see, like, this is a capillary. From this capillary, the oxygen, the nutrients can be given to the cells, and the cells in return give carbon dioxide and waste to the capillaries. Now these capillaries are associated then with the veins. So these carbon dioxide and waste then carried by the veins. So this is how the capillaries makes a connection between arteries and veins. Now the third organ is the heart, which makes the circulatory system. So let's understand about a heart. So heart is a pumping organ. Its size is just about our fist. The heart is enclosed in a double layer membrane which is called as pericardium. This is a double layer membrane. The heart is enclosed in this kind of double layer membrane. So this double layer membrane is called as pericardium. The heart is having a 4 chambers. So this is our 4 chambers, 1, 2, 3 and 4. These are the 4 chambers. These 4 chambers are named as auricles or auricles or atrium. The upper two, these are auricles or atrium. The lower two are known as ventricles. So they are named as, these are right auricle or atrium, and these are left auricles or left atrium. The lower one are right ventricle and left ventricle. So this side is left and this side is right. This left and right sides are separated by a septum. So this is in between, there is a muscle which is known as septum. This partition is very important because this partition separates the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. How? The left region carries the oxygenated blood, this carries oxygenated blood, and this right region carries deoxygenated blood. So this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood do not get mixed with the help of this partition called septum. We mammals and birds are only having a 4-chambered heart. By this four-chambered heart, we are not able to mix up the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. By this way, we get a large amount of energy because we are able to obtain a large amount of oxygen from the blood. But the lower animals like amphibians or the reptiles, which are also known to be cold-blooded animals, they do not get enough oxygen. Why? Because their heart is only three-chambered. So because of three-chambered, two auricles they have and one ventricle. So from the auricles, the blood get into the ventricles, and in the ventricles, the blood get mixed. Because of this reason, these amphibians or these reptiles are not able to get enough oxygen from the blood, and they do not get the enough energy. Because of this, they are not able to maintain a body temperature. So that is why their body temperature get changed according to the environment. If there is a cold in the environment, so their body temperature remains cold, and if there is a hot in the environment, so their body temperature remains hot. But we mammals and birds require a high amount of energy for doing our task as well as to maintain a body temperature. So that is why we are having a four-chambered heart. Now let's understand more about it. These auricles and ventricles, this is auricle and this is ventricle, they are separated by a valves. This is a bicuspid valve and this is a tricuspid valves. What is the function of these valves? Once the blood passes from these auricles down to the ventricles, these valves get closed so that when the ventricles contract, so blood do not fall back into the arteries. So this is how the valves prevent the blood to be falling back. Now when the ventricles contract, the blood enters into these arteries. So these are arteries. These are arteries, and in the arteries we are also having a valves. In the arteries also we have these valves. So what these valves do, we are also having these valves. So what these valves do, these valves are known to be a semilunar valves. These valves are known to be a semilunar valves. So what these valves do, they prevent the backflow of blood. The main artery is known as aorta and the main vein is known as vena cava. So from here we receives the blood from other body organs, that is deoxygenated blood, and from arteries we give the blood to the main artery, that is known as aorta, and from here the blood goes to all body organs, that is oxygenated blood. The other point here to be noted down that fishes have only two-chambered heart and having a single circulation. So what is single circulation? Single circulation means the blood is passing into the heart only one times. That is single circulation. But in human beings or in four-chambered organisms where the heart is four-chambered, so we have a double circulation system. We'll understand the double circulation afterwards. First, let's understand that how this heart circulate the blood to all the body organs. So we have 6 steps. First step is the pulmonary vein brings the blood from lungs to the left atrium because the left side is the oxygenated side. So it is bringing the oxygenated blood because blood is coming from the lungs. So lungs is having lungs is a site of oxygen rich. It is a oxygen rich site. So that is why the blood get oxygenated. From there the blood comes to the left atrium. The left atrium contracts, and when it contracts, these valves get open up. The blood rushes down into the left ventricles. Then when the blood rushes down into the left ventricles, the valves get closed. The ventricles contracts and the blood then passes into the main artery, which is known as aorta. It carries the oxygenated blood. It carries the oxygenated blood. It carries oxygenated blood. So oxygenated blood passes then to the body organs. We have learned that body organs is having a network of capillaries. So through capillaries, the oxygen will be exchanged. The blood organs will receive oxygen and it will give carbon dioxide to the capillaries. So the capillaries will give blood to the main vein then. The main vein then carries the deoxygenated blood, which is also known as vena cava. So this vena cava brings the blood to the right atrium. Then the right atrium will contract, the valves get open up, the blood will rush down to the ventricle, then the valves get closed. When the valves get closed, they produce a sound of lub. Then the ventricles contract and the blood passes into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery then takes the blood to the lungs to get oxygenated. So this is the whole mechanism by which the blood is being circulated to the body organs and then again get to the oxygen side, that is lungs, to get oxygenated. Now, because we have learned that the blood passes into the heart two times, once when it was coming back from the lungs, then again when it is come back from the body organs. So blood is passing two times into the heart. So that is why we are having a double circulation. Our circulation is known to be a double circulation. The first one is known as pulmonary circulation. The circulation between heart and lungs is known as pulmonary circulation. The second one is known as systemic circulation. The circulation between heart and other body organs is known as systemic circulation. So this is how we are having a double circulation. Then heartbeat. How the heartbeat is produced. So we have learned that we are having four valves in our heart. When the two valves V1 and V2, which is known as bicuspid and tricuspid, these valves get closed, then the sound of lub is produced. And when the semilunar valves get closed, then the sound of dub is produced. So this lub dub sound produces one heartbeat. This lub dub sound is measured by the doctors by using stethoscope. The contraction of heart muscles is called systole. And there is a small time phase when the heart is not having any heart, and that is the relaxation phase of our heart. So that expansion or that relaxation phase is known as diastole. One rhythmic contraction of the heart followed by the relaxation is called the heartbeat. That together make a heartbeat. We also can say that lub dub together make a heartbeat. Now, what is the difference between pulse rate and heart rate? Heartbeat, we have understood that heartbeat is the lub dub sound is called heartbeat. Pulse rate is what? Pulse rate, we can measure the pulse rate from here. So how we can measure the heartbeat pulse rate here? Actually, the pulse rate is what we are measuring. We are counting the heartbeat, and that counting should comes to be 72 to 80 times per minute in an healthy person. How we can hurt the heartbeat here? Because we have learned the arteries carries the blood, and in arteries the blood flows with high pressure. So because of high pressure, the arteries, we receive throbbing. When the heart contracts and relax, we receive throbbing. So that throbbing sensation we get from the arteries and to a particular sites, like from the wrist or from the neck. So we have some sites in our body where we could experience the throbbing of arteries. So that throbbing sensation due to the flow of blood under high pressure in arteries is called pulse. And that pulse also to be 72 to 80 times. That should also be 72 to 80 times per minute, because we are measuring actually the heartbeat through the pulse rate. Let's understand the working of heart. The human heart has four chambers. The first chamber is right atrium. The second is left atrium. The third is right ventricles. And the fourth one is left ventricles. Apart from these four chambers, our human heart is having four valves. These valves are such as tricuspid valve, mitral valve, also known as bicuspid valve, aortic valve, also known as semilunar valve, pulmonic valve, also known as semilunar valve. These valves are one-way valves and prevent the backflow of blood. Now you have seen the structure of heart. Let us learn how heart works. The blood becomes oxygen rich by absorbing oxygen in the lungs. The function of heart starts when the oxygenated blood is carried from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart by means of pulmonary veins. The left atrium relaxes when the blood pumps into the heart. The left atrium contracts and pumps the blood to the left ventricles through the one-way valve. Then the left atrium relaxes and the left ventricle contracts and pushes the blood to the aorta. Then the aortic valves open up and the aorta takes the blood to the rest of the body, except lungs. Oxygen-rich blood reaches the different parts of the body through blood vessels known as arteries. The arteries get branched into capillaries which reaches to different organs of the body. The organ becomes the oxygenated and the blood vessels then takes up the carbon dioxide from the organs and passes to the veins. The veins carries the deoxygenated blood to the heart. The main vein which delivers the deoxygenated blood to the heart is called vena cava. The deoxygenated blood from the different organs of the body is received by the upper chamber known as right atrium. The right atrium gets contracted and pushes the blood into the right ventricle through the one-way valves. The right ventricle contracts, and with the expansion of the right atrium, the right ventricle then contracts and pushes the blood into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for getting oxygenated. The lungs oxygenate the blood by exchanging the gases and inflows back into the heart by the pulmonary vein. Now let's understand that what is blood pressure. So blood flows into the blood vessels, and when this blood flows, it applies some force on the walls. The force that is experienced by the walls is called the blood pressure. This pressure is much greater in the arteries and lower in the veins, because we have learned that in arteries the blood flows with high pressure and in veins the blood flows with low pressure. That is why this force applied on the arteries walls is much larger than the veins. The pressure by which the blood flows inside the arteries during the ventricle systole, or when the ventricles get contract, at that time the arteries receives more force. That pressure is known as systolic pressure. And when the pressure applied on the walls of arteries during the ventricular relaxation, that pressure is known as diastolic pressure. The blood pressure in the healthy human being should be 120/80. So this 120 is systolic pressure, means the pressure at the time of contraction of heart, and this 80 is diastolic pressure, means the pressure at the relaxation time of the heart. Now this blood pressure is measured with a machine called sphygmomanometer. This machine is having a rubber cuff. This rubber cuff applies a pressure on the arteries. We measure the blood pressure by the arteries, not by the veins. So when these rubber cuffs are wound around our arms, this applies pressure on the arteries, and because the normal pressure should be 120, so the pressure applied by this rubber cuff is more than 120. At this stage, the blood stops flowing through the arteries. Now this rubber cuff will release the pressure and it brings down to be 120. At 120 the blood will start flowing, and when the pressure releases down to below 80, then we stop hearing the sound of lub-dub. So this is how we measure the blood pressure of a person, by using this machine. If this systolic pressure is more than 120, then it is known as a hypertension situation. Or if it is low than 80, then it is known as low blood pressure. Now, what are the reasons of hypertension? The reasons of hypertension, one reason could be constriction in the arterioles. This constriction could be because of the deposition of cholesterol. And when we eat junk food and fatty food, by this we receive lot of cholesterol in the body, and that all cholesterol which is not utilized by the body and it is not converting into energy, so that extra fat get deposit into the arteries. By this, the walls of the arteries get constricted, and it build up more pressure into the arteries walls. If this pressure increases to 180 or 200 or more than this, then it could be very dangerous, because it could start the internal bleeding or could rupture the arteries. So this is why this high blood pressure situation is very, very complicated, very dangerous. Now let's understand about the lymph and lymph vessels. Lymph vessels are also a part of circulatory system. Let's understand how. The capillaries, when spread around the blood, spread around the tissues, then these capillaries receives the material from the cells. But there are some materials which remain outside the cells, which makes the extracellular material, and it do not enter into the blood capillaries. So that extracellular material is received or is collected by the lymph vessels. So here in the picture you could see the green ones are the lymphatic capillaries. So these are the lymphatic capillaries which is also making a network along with the blood capillaries. So these lymphatic capillaries are collecting all those materials which has not got into the capillaries, or which is not received by the capillaries. So that all material is received by the lymphatic capillaries. These lymphatic capillaries then associate to the lymphatic vessels, and these lymphatic vessels then makes up the lymph veins. Now, what all materials this lymph carries? Lymph is basically the liquid which is collected by the lymph vessels. All that liquid, all that extracellular liquid. If this is a cell and these are the two cells, this is the third cell, this is the fourth cell. So in this gap there is also some liquid, and this liquid which has not been passed into the capillaries, so this liquid, this extracellular fluid is being collected by the lymphatic capillaries, and this extracellular liquid is known as a lymph. Means this when enter into the lymphatic vessel, then it is known to be a lymph. So what all these materials contain? This could be oxygen, this could be proteins, this could be glucose, this could be white blood cells, or this could be waste material. All these things which get outside the cells but are not able to enter into the blood, that all material then is collected by the lymph vessels. This lymph vessels then passes over this lymph into the veins. So here you could see these are making a lymphatic capillaries around the blood capillaries. They collect all the extracellular material which is required for the body. So this lymph capillaries are making a lymph node here. These lymph nodes are enriched with the white blood cells. So these lymph nodes basically they kills the germs and bacteria which is present into the in this fluid. They kills all that germs, and the necessary material is then passes over to the veins. So here you could see that it is passing over the liquid to the veins. So from here, lungs also, the lymphatic capillaries are doing the same function and giving this blood to the veins. So what is the difference between this lymph and blood? So this lymph basically this is a colorless fluid. In this lymph vessels is also flowing a fluid. It is also containing one fluid, and it also receiving the fluid from the cells. So this is a colorless fluid. It do not contain any RBC, but we know in blood we have RBCs. In lymph it contains plasma, but lesser number of white blood cells and platelets, which is as compared to in blood is more. Then in lymph It helps in the body defense because it kills all the harmful bacteria and germs. That is why it helps in the body defense mechanism, and it provides an immune system to our body. Blood is associated with the circulation of oxygen and carbon dioxide. This is the main function of blood, to provide all the necessary material to the organs. Then lymph lacks the proteins, but in blood we have, in plasma, a lot of proteins, albumin, globulin, so many types of proteins we have in the plasma. But in lymph, because there is limited amount of plasma, so that is why it lacks protein. So this is all the difference between lymph and blood, and this is all about the circulatory system of animals. In the next video I am coming up with the circulation in plants, and the last topic, that is excretion. These are the two topics is left behind of this chapter. Now these are the questions to do for you guys which are following my videos and are properly listening and doing the studies with my videos. So these are some questions which is to be asked in the exams, or these are for the practice also. It's not necessary that these questions will definitely come in the exams, because in science there is no particular thing that this is the question that definitely comes, because in science nowadays the questions are changing every year. So the thing is that you need to practice the concept and the questions. The more question you will solve, the more better you will be able to understand the concept. So this is all in my video here, and you could subscribe my channel so that you could come to know about my next video. Whenever I upload the next video, you could come to know. You could also press the bell icon right next to the subscription button. So this is all. Thank you.